I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Dance Influence with Dana Alexa. I am your host, Dana Alexa, and I am here with my beautiful co-host, Ms. Danielle Rose.
Hey.
And our special guest today is the amazing Miles Keeney. He is joining us all the way from New York City. If you guys don't know him, he is a powerhouse, and you're gonna know him soon because he's exploding on social media. His classes are packed out, high energy jazz funk. He's teaching from coast to coast, New York, LA, and everywhere in between. So guys, get familiar with him. He has huge credits like Jason Derulo and Silento, and he's choreographing. And just honestly, when I watch his classes, you can't be in, like, you have to feel inspired to move when you watch him because the energy is through the roof. So Miles, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for that intro. That was so sweet.
It's all true. And we're so excited because Miles is our first choreographer here from New York. And I just realized my shirt says New York.
Yes, that's where you're from. That's where you're from.
Yes, I'm from New York. So we're very excited today to give you guys a little bit of an insight on his feeling about living in New York and pursuing his professional career from that coast, because I know it's something that you guys ask me about a lot. And while I do know some about the New York scene, I have been in LA for almost 9 years now. So I'm more of an LA dancer and choreographer. So we're going to pick his brain about that. But before we do, the amazing Danielle is going to put us on the spot with a game. Aren't you? What do you got for us today, Danielle?
We're going to do another game of Would You Rather. I think those are my favorite. I'm getting really good at them. So we're going to do it. You can just give a short answer, or if you want to, go in and explain your answer, you're more than welcome to. But I have about 8, so let's get in with the first one. All right. Would you rather have more time or more money?
Am I supposed to go first? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, you go first. Always. We're very cordial here. We let the guests go.
Okay. I would say time. I think, but if you have more time, you probably can do more things that make you more money. So I would go with time.
I would say I want more money.
Been honest.
That's wrong to admit. But guys, I love money. I love the freedom that money gives you. And I think I would need less time if I had more money, because I could just throw money at the problem and I'd have a whole, just a whole staff of people working for me. So I don't need any.
Getting it all done for you. Yeah. That's good. That's good. This isn't a fun one. I like this one. Would you rather be able to talk with animals or speak all of the foreign languages?
I'd speak all the foreign languages. I don't want to know what all these animals are thinking of me. I'm terrified of like a bee, so I'm not. I speak every language.
He probably's like, oh, he's handsome. He's not even afraid of you.
That's what the bee is thinking. He's handsome.
Yeah.
Buzz.
That bee. This is the hardest question in the world for me because it has been my fantasy like my whole life to be able to speak and communicate with people in every language, because you guys know I love to travel. But a year ago, my answer to this question changed when I got my dog Charlie, because really I would care more to communicate with Charlie than with any human that exists. So I have to talk with animals for that reason. But yeah, so I would definitely have to pick that one. Plus that one would be more like a superpower. I guess I could like buckle down and learn all the languages, but I couldn't.
Very Eliza Thornberry.
Right. Yeah, like a Disney princess. All right. Would you rather work more hours per day but fewer days per week, or work fewer hours per day but more days?
I think especially during this quarantine, I've realized that like I like to have like work days and then chill days. So I've been trying to like kind of put a lot of things in one day. So I would do more hours in one day and have more days off per week.
I think me and Miles might be like the yin and the yang. We're like completely we haven't answered the same ones, because I would definitely pick to just work a little every day, because on days I don't have any work and I have no structure, I'm like very like I don't know, I can't even enjoy the day. I'd rather wake up, do something, teach a class, and then be off the rest of the day to enjoy the day than like have days fully off. I don't do well with that, like things like fully off.
Right.
Okay, would you rather be Batman or Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
I'm a Spider-Man girl.
I'll agree with you there. I would rather be Spider-Man because Batman's really just like a rich guy with like kind of, right? Like he doesn't really have any superpowers. He just has money and like gadgets, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. I would definitely be Spider-Man. I love him. Okay, would you rather always say everything that's on your mind or never speak again?
Ooh. Whew, we're getting deep. My God. I think I would rather say everything that's on my mind. I think not speaking ever again would be impossible. Like,
I already say everything that comes into my mouth.
that's
So
that New York
I would pay
bluntness.
dearly for it. So I would obviously pick that one.
Okay, okay, that's right. Would you rather spend the day with your favorite athlete or your favorite movie star? And then answer the who it is.
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. It would definitely be favorite movie star because I'm not a big sports guy, but I don't know who actually, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I would do athlete because I really am obsessed with Serena Williams and I would want to spend a day with her and pick her brain. But I don't really care about tennis either, but I just would like to, hang.
Right. Yeah.
I would say movie star because I'd want to spend the day with Oprah. And I don't think you would really call her like a movie star, but she was in that movie that one time. I think she was in The Color Purple. So
I feel like you can call her everything. She's everything.
Right.
Everything. Yeah. So that's what I would pick.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Would you rather live where it's constantly winter or where it's constantly summer?
Summer, hands down. I hate the cold and I live in New York, but
that's why I'm here to tell you that eternal summer.
Yeah. No way.
All right, and then one last one is, would you rather have many good friends or just one very good best friend?
One very good best friend. I think that's more how it is with generally me right now. Like I have my best friend that I've been with my friend forever, and then everyone else is sort of like a dance friend or acquaintance.
Right.
I don't have a huge circle that I keep around me, I guess.
I'd have to pick many good friends just because I do have a lot of good friends, like friends that I've managed to stay in touch with since I was just thinking about it the other day. I have like 6 or 7 friendships that are like over the 20-year mark that we've been friends. And so they're not people that I like see every single day or, they're married. So a lot of them live in New York, but they're still like so special to me and our bonds have gone past like decades of time. So I would probably pick it for that reason.
Yeah, that's great.
Good questions, Danielle.
Spicy.
Sometimes I make her kind of screen them with me ahead of time. When we first started doing the show, I was like, tell me what you might say before, just so that you don't throw us up for a loop. But I've stopped screening her and she's just doing her own thing and she's killing it. You can trust her now.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was fun.
That was fun. All right, Miles. So it's time to pick your brain. So I want to start with first just talking about, obviously we're all still in quarantine. For us in LA, it's sounding like we may be in quarantine until August. I'm thinking that's not confirmed, right? It's
not yet.
Just like the speculation. So I know what quarantine has been like here and for the dance scene here, but what has it been like for you guys in New York? How is everybody handling the stay-at-home order?
I think the tough part is like, New York has become like the epicenter of everything, and it's especially in Queens and in Brooklyn. There's a lot of hospitals that have like exclusively been dedicated to coronavirus treatment. The thing is, I think with the weather change here, like people were doing a really easy job of like staying in their homes and not social distancing when it was cold. But like the past couple weeks, we've had like some 70-degree days, some, really sunny, beautiful weekends. And so it's like, you can't expect people to just stay in their apartment all day when it's gorgeous out. So, people have been, and they tell you, if you're distant and you wear a mask, you can go wherever you want. But there's been some people not wearing masks and, I feel like 2 months in, there's definitely a little bit more antsiness among everybody, like for a solution. And if LA is saying August, I highly doubt New York would be before that, but you never know. It's complicated because like New York City has a lot of cases, but then like upstate New York doesn't, and it's all the same governor. So it's, you know, it's a kind of a complicated
I
situation.
think they're calling for us right now. They're saying LA County, but I know I actually feel like it's getting harder for people in California because due to the stay-at-home order, I feel like I know we have a lot of cases, but I think we've had less than New York and less than people probably anticipated because we're doing all the things to stay home and avoid it spreading and stuff. But I think now at this point, it's been that people have been in lockdown. I've been in lockdown for over 2 months, and I think most of us have as well. But because of the fact that it's not so widespread, we know so few people who have actually been affected that
Right.
we're like, okay, we're not sick. Nobody we know is sick. Nobody we work with or for is sick. And we still have to stay home for another 3 months, you know?
Right.
So I think that that's almost harder because it's so far from us almost, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys have your cars. Like I think a lot of it, like I think New York, it got spread easier because people are just on public transport and close to each other a lot. It's a very like densely populated city. And so, you know, just by nature of that can cause things to spread fast.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't know anyone personally, like a friend of mine or anything that has it, but I've heard a lot of people that like, you know, by association, or I've seen posts on Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely a real thing. Yeah.
No, it definitely is. It's not that it's not. I think we all know that it's a real thing, but it's just. I think it's easier when it's like, okay, well, somebody I know is affected, or somebody close to me is affected, or somebody in our circle is affected. You kind of feel the gravity of it a bit more. Not that we would ever want that. I'm not saying we want that. I'm just saying, I think it's harder for, especially just seeing now how antsy people in California are getting, especially young people. I think it doesn't really necessarily feel real to them because it's so like removed maybe, but that's a good thing. The reason it's removed and why it's not in our circle is because we've been home and we've been isolated and we've been stopped that way. So that's the hard part about. How do you feel that the New York like dance scene has responded to the quarantine as far as like people teaching online? Is there a lot of that happening, or what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, when they first announced all of this, like we got those of us that work at like Broadway Dance Center and Prayer Dance Brick House, like the studio sent an email like, look, we're gonna be closed for the next 2 weeks, and then we're gonna, you know, reassess. No one really knew how bad it would get. So like me and a bunch of other people, we just started kind of doing these classes on Instagram Live because it was just, you know, I thought, okay, 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, whatever. Like I'll just do. They're fun. I don't care about not making money. Like I'll just do it, you know, just to have some fun. And then and people were doing their online classes. And then when it started to look like things weren't getting better, they were actually getting worse. I think, you know, people started to not panic, but just be like, okay, we got to, you know, still keep the studio open and all that. So Broadway Dance Center started doing like online classes, a more limited schedule. It wasn't like their full roster, obviously, but they were doing online classes. All the studios kind of started their own online forums. And then a couple of us, myself included, and I know you just started your own one as well, kind of like your own personalized online class situation. So it kind of all gets filtered through me, which has been, you know, kind of, when I realized I had all this time to kill, I'm like, why don't I just beef up my website? Why don't I make these things like, you know, nice? And I think a lot of other people have shared that same sentiment because, you know, now we have a little bit more time to invest in this new online territory, you know?
And I think it's become so clear, you know, I was talking to Danielle, you were actually in my live class today, right? Online.
Yes.
And I was just talking about how, especially now with social media, outside of a quarantine, so many of the people that watch and relate to your stuff are not in your city. They're just not New Yorkers. And, you know, and I was saying to Danielle, even if someone lives with you in New York, it doesn't mean they can make your weekly class every week for all types of issues. It could be, who knows, it could be transportation related, money related. So having access to online classes is something that I think will benefit choreographers far outside the quarantine, because you're always going to be able to have the reach of, you know, dancing with people in other states, cities, countries, as well as keeping people in your own city consistent. You know, how often do you have someone that loves your class, but 2-3 weeks in a row, they're stuck at work or they, whatever it is, and they didn't get to take your class. Now, if you have online content, they can keep that consistency, which benefits not only the student, but the teacher as well. Because, for me, I'm always like, if I want to hire a dancer out of my class or hire someone that trains with me, I need someone I know is training with me on a regular basis all the time, not someone who takes my class and then disappears for 3 months and then comes back, because it's hard. So this is kind of a cool way to have that and have people dancing with you all the time. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that live in that don't live in New York, don't live in LA, that want the training. They're hungry for it. So I think there is going to be some good and a good outcome that comes from investing in this online stuff.
Agreed. Yeah. How do you find it teaching online? Do you think it's strange? Are you enjoying it? Or are you kind of like?
It's funny because I think the best forum I found, I loved the Instagram Live class because it automatically mirrors it for you, and the quality was good. If you have a good Wi-Fi connection, so I thought that was the best. But obviously, that's not really sustainable. So I found, it's not great, but we're doing the best we can, and I've become, I think, a even more specific and just very verbal teacher. I'm always saying right, left, and just really, really honing in on the details verbally, just so people can follow along the best they can. And with my service, the live can get saved for 24 hours on through my website, so then they can go back and watch it. Because I'm I can only do the best I can with this, But
tell us, what exactly is your service? What does it look like? So say somebody wants to find you and dance with you. What do they do?
Yeah. So you go to mileskeeney.com, and there's a button that says purchase access code for weekly class. And I do them on Mondays. So every Tuesday is when the code is live, and you can log on. You purchase the access code, and you'll get emailed a confirmation, and then an hour before the class starts, you'll be emailed an individual access code that only works for you. And then because you don't want one that just can be spread around everywhere. So it only works for you, and then it's valid for the full 24-hour period of the class, and it's just a URL. It's run through Vimeo, but I can embed it on my website so it looks like it's there. And it's worked out really well. It's not like Zoom, so I can't watch everybody at the same time and interact with them. When I do the classes for Broadway Dance Center and stuff, that's where I get to do the Zoom thing. But I found it's just better to have sort of a live stream going of it, and just for quality purposes and just having it look a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing yours? Is yours through?
So I started a Patreon account, which is basically that people can subscribe monthly to this account. And I did that for reasons of wanting to not only release dance classes, so getting access to a live stream class is just really part of what you get. You kind of also get fitness tutorials, you get meditations, mindfulness videos, and all types of stuff. It's something I've been wanting to create for a while, and something that I eventually want to take on the road as a live training course, just something I've always wanted to develop. So I was figured, let me do it now. Let me get it online while I have the time. So you buy your membership to Patreon for the month, and then you get access to whatever you purchased at each tier. And then the actual live stream classes are happening through an unlisted YouTube link that gets posted up through Patreon. So right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of how exactly I want to do the live classes. Like you said, it's kind of do you want the Zoom? Do you want the feed? So I'm trying to work it out. But right now, that's the way that I'm doing them. Plus, I'm still doing some free Instagram live classes here and there just to keep people moving and just trying to balance it out and figure out what's going to work for everybody.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking about going and doing another Instagram one in a couple of weeks just to get back to it. Because I get it. This is not, people are out of a job. People, I understand. So trying to keep it balanced enough that I can still, pay my rent and stuff. but
it's got to be a balance for everybody, I think, between keeping things in mind. I tried to keep the prices beyond reasonable for this program. It's not necessarily about making millions of dollars off people right now, but just everybody staying afloat, supporting each other. and our studios, I worry about our studios. It's months and months with these studios.
I know.
They have like $50,000 rent these places.
I know. I think about that too, especially like the ones that aren't backed by kind of a bigger machine. I don't know the status of anybody. I mean, I haven't heard anything bad yet, but if this goes on for 5 or 6 more months, like something's gonna have to give. So I'm hoping we just come out of this with some open studios that we can go dance in. But it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Small businesses in general, not even just dance studios, like it's tricky.
Definitely. But we'll have to just play it by ear, and there'll be, the thing about the dance community and dancers in general is that we're resilient. So whatever's left, we're going to run and we're going to rebuild. So that I know that I do. So, So first, let's go back in the time machine. Tell us how you got started in dance.
My gosh. I danced like when I was younger, just kind of more recreationally, some competition stuff. And I was always a really, really good student. And I always said I wanted to be a developmental psychologist. Like I wanted to go and do the whole college thing. And not that I never thought of dancing professionally as something I wanted to do, because I think at the back of my head I did, but I had a lot of other interests. And so basically I went to college in Connecticut, where I was able to they had a decent dance program that was more modern and ballet based, and I was able to still kind of dance as I got my degree. But it was, obviously 2 hours away from New York. It wasn't really that close to any, major city. So I wasn't doing too much of the commercial stuff that I kind of do now, but my technique got really, really solid and all that good stuff. And so then when I graduated, it's 5 years now since I graduated. Oh my God, 2015 is. When I graduated 5 years ago, I moved to New York right after graduation, and I just wanted to be in the mix. I didn't really know too many people, because I just felt like I'd spent 4 years just like in the middle of nowhere and not really, it was pretty overwhelming. So I just started to kind of get in classes. I was a little rusty at first, and then eventually I just started to make some connections, and I'd always loved choreography, always loved teaching. I did it while I was in college just for my friends and for some of the school, like student run productions and stuff like that. And then there's a studio in New York called Ripley Greer Studios where people can just like rent space for rehearsals or for classes or whatever. And so I started about a year, it was summer of 2016, about a year after being in New York, I was like, let me just do a class at Ripley, rent some space, say, come one, come all, let's just have fun. And the reception to it was really, really good. And it kind of took some time to grow it, obviously. But I started to, I just think I was determined to just consistently put out material, and things kind of started to grow slowly but surely. And then I got contacted by a couple of the studios here if I wanted to like guest class and sub for classes and things like that. And then eventually was offered kind of my own slots. So that's and teaching, is kind of how I got, I guess, my foot in the door in New York in terms of choreography, because then people started to know who I was, and my agents knew who I was, and it started to kind of transform into more than that in terms of like choreographic work and all that. But I had all this like direct like plan of everything I wanted to do with my life and like check boxes, and I think as soon as I kind of let that go, let the type A-ness of my personality kind of relax for a second, a lot of things fell into place, and I'm kind of just, I don't want to say riding the wave, because I am actively working every single day at this, but I love it so much, and it's become sort of like I don't want to do anything else the rest of my life. I want to just continue to reach as many people as possible through dance, through choreography, through my classes, through whatever way that I can. So I don't know if I just rambled. They're like,
not at all. I love that. Yeah, if you're rambling, we'll cut you off and pull you back.
Okay, please.
If you let go, it means you're speaking beautifully. So don't stress. You sound great. The thing that's interesting to me is that, well, two things. I know that people say it's very hard in LA, obviously, to break in, get your foot in the door. All the best people in the world are here, teachers that have been on the roster forever and ever. So it's very hard as a newcomer to get your foot in the door anywhere, or to like really make a name for yourself. I know it's very difficult. But it kind of feels to me like it's even harder in New York because there's also super elite dancers and choreographers who have been there for literally decades and are just some of the best dancers in the world. But there's also less. There's less studios, there's less classes per day. There's less
Yeah.
students even because, you know, the dance scene in New York, as far as commercial, is not as populous as the dance scene out here. So like in Cali, you could have 7 classes going on at the same exact time with the biggest people in the world, and they could all be sold out.
Right.
But in New York, it's not quite really like that. So did you feel intimidated at first to like be like, I'm gonna start trying to teach in New York? Or like what was your mindset that you were like, I'm doing it?
No, I mean, I was. And I really, the most terrifying thing is just to start, you know what I mean? Because you're just afraid, you're so afraid no one's going to show up. You're so afraid that people won't like it. You know, like, you know, it's all these things. And
you still feel like that sometimes, even though
yes,
you're established, you're like, is anyone gonna come?
Yes, literally, not so much in New York, but like I was out in LA in January and I taught at T Millie for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, no one's going to show up. Like, it's going to be, I was like, freaking out. I hadn't had that feeling in a minute, but like, you know, you realize like you're constantly working. But I do think the scene is hard to break into in New York. And I didn't realize this at the time. But Broadway Dance Center and some of the studios have like these big approval boards or like faculty advisory boards, and your stuff has to get approved by like 5 or 6 different people, and you have to have your class monitored. Like they're really, you know, it's not like you can just show up and be like, I want to teach today, let me teach. You know, there's definitely a process to getting approved. And I think they do vet for quality quite well at the studios here. But you're right, it isn't. Like the commercial stuff in New York, it's there's a lot of theater and there's a lot of that happens at Broadway Dance Center too. So you kind of get this weird world of like commercial dancers existing right in classrooms right next to really full theater classes. But it's definitely, it is a smaller, just a smaller community in general. So yeah, I do notice that when I'm out in LA, I'm like, oh my God, this person's teaching this time, this person's teaching this time, you know.
And it's fine, yeah.
It's fine, but it must be overwhelming for the dancers too. Like, I guess you never know where you're gonna go or who you're gonna take, and it's a lot of choices.
Definitely. So I know that the hardest part is to start, but like, so you're new, you're like, I'm just going to get into teaching. What is the mindset that you're in that you find the push to be like, I'm going to rent the space and try and, you know, take on this risk? What were you feeling at that time? Where it's just like you're dying to do this, and if no one shows up, who cares, because I'm just ready, I just want to try? Or like, what was your mindset?
Yeah, I think very that. I think if you sit and wait all the time for like your ducks to be in a row, and if you like sit and wait to feel like you need a cosign from somebody to be ready, or you need, you know, if you feel like in your heart, if you feel in your talent, in whatever, and if you feel secure enough in your talent and in your ability and in your desire to do something, I say just go do it. Because the worst, like, I guess I rationalized it as like, the worst that could happen is nobody shows up. And then I wait a couple weeks or months and maybe try it again. You know, like it wasn't that deep to me at first. You know what I mean? I was just like, I graduated college and I was like, I have my degree. I can always go get a master's. I can always, you know, apply for an internship at a lab, like whatever. It's developmental psychology. Like there's a lot of things you can do with it. One of those like bachelor's catch-all degrees. But like, I was like, I want to put everything I have for like a year or two into this dance thing and see if anything comes of it. And so I felt like I just wanted to do it, and so I did it, you know. But it was. I think back to that summer, and my boyfriend at the time, I was so nervous, and like I remember talking with him so much about it, and it was a really weird time. But you're just kind of like young. I was 22 or 23, and I think I was just, you know, ready to do something. I'm like, I have something to offer to this community. And I know, and there isn't like, I mean, we talk about this sometimes, there's not a lot of jazz funk in New York in general. It is a more saturated style on the West Coast. So I felt like there was a lane for me to kind of come up and give this jazz funk choreography that I didn't see too much of in New York. There's some, but so I just was like, I feel this. I feel like there's something I can do here, you know?
And there is. I mean, the response to your classes has been phenomenal, and you've like really made a name for yourself and a hold for yourself. And you're not only teaching in New York, but like you mentioned, you've started teaching bi-coastally and coming to teach in LA. So I'm interested to hear, as a teacher first, what do you feel the difference is from the students and the type of students that turn up and the energy in your class between New York and Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously people know me more in New York than LA. So when I come out there, it's a lot of students that I've never met before, never had in my class before. So there's that like initial wall I have to kind of break over of like, I'm fun, let's have fun, you know? But I do find energy wise, LA has this like, people are just hype in class. Like people are focused on training, yes, but there is this kind of like, you're gonna notice me today type type energy, you know. Where I find in New York, you know, it's very training focused. It's very like a lot of vibey choreography in general, like a lot of, you know, it's dim lights and people are just trying to be in their, you know, there's pros and cons. Maybe not so much in my class. I don't do too much of that, like, you know, hat over your face vibe, but like, I think New York is a little bit more subtle, I guess would be the word. But I yeah, I guess but so sometimes, you know, and it's a lot of, I'm sure maybe LA too, but like a lot of students in New York are on like international visas, a lot of students from Japan, a lot of students from Europe. So like there's this kind of sometimes a language barrier, and they're a little bit more polite and reserved in class. So you kind of have to have a little bit more of a, not, I don't want to say somber, but just serious tone to class, I find in New York. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm sure you teach both places all the time too, so I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's interesting though, because I think wherever you're from, I mean, I get a phenomenal reception in LA. My students in LA are always lit and excited to see me. But when I go to New York, it's like the Macy's Day Parade every time I show up. Like people are screaming, like, you know, and it's because I'm not from there. So, you know, when you go somewhere new, people are always a little bit even more excited to see you because they don't have you regularly. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think that New York feels more to me like a very detail-oriented, technique-oriented, very lines, boxes. Like people are very concerned about like the physicality and like the structure of the training. And in LA, people are here to like grow artistry and just like they'll take whatever you give them and they like want to know it generally, but then they want to own it and they want to like make it theirs. And like, yeah, they really want to like make it a whole experience more than anything else. So it's different in that way. I noticed even in the types of questions I get in LA, I get a lot more what's the intention and what's the musicality kind of questions because they want to perform it. And in New York, I get a lot more what count is this on? What line is this arm? You know, yeah, more of those types of questions structured. So I think that, yeah, like you said, they both have their pros and cons, and they're definitely, it's funny because I feel like it's specific even to the way people are in general in the city. Like in New York, people are more about their own business. They're not going to be in your face. They're very much about like the structure of things. And in LA, people are like, yes, let's go. Where are you? Hello. So I think it's like the dance class feels the same way. In New York, it's more just about, you know, mind your business and get your training.
Right. And LA is just like, so, you know, you have so many facets of entertainment in LA. Like there's just this like kind of like just undercurrent of like this people wanting star quality, people wanting to like, you know, achieve their dreams. In New York, there's that too, but you're also like sandwiched in between bankers and doctors and like everyone, you know what I mean? And like you're on your way to dance class and you're next to someone that works on Wall Street and someone else that does this, you know what I mean? So you're constantly exposed to a lot of different energies that are not dance related or not entertainment related, you know?
Definitely. And I think that it's probably possible that the people that go to New York are very dance specific focused as far as entertainment, whereas in California, almost nobody that takes my class, as far as I know, is there to be a dancer. They're dancing, singing, acting, they're hosting, they're modeling, they're, you know, they're not only trying to take away aspects from dance class that'll fill all of those cups for them, but they're also bringing all of those aspects of personality to class, where they're like, you know, they're a social media influencer and they're doing all these things at one time. So it's cool. It's different. It's definitely different. So I think you also train in both places. So what are your experiences as a dancer? Do you feel that as a dancer too, that you're kind of different in New York than you are in LA?
Yeah, I like taking class more in LA than I do in New York because it's teachers that I never get to take, or not never, but like rarely get to take, and I don't feel as like, I guess, known. You know what I mean? Like people do know me out there, but like there is this because people know I teach in New York and people know who I am. Like when I'm in someone else's class, there's like this expectation or like watch on me. I feel like from other students and things in the class, not in like a bad way, but just like I feel like this pressure sometimes to like, you better not F this up, Miles. Like, you better do this. Like, you better kill this class. And then in LA, you know, like the pressure's removed. And I find sometimes when that pressure is removed, just from like a lack of notoriety, I guess, I'm able to just dance more freely. Like I took, I took your class, and I took Quran back to back, or maybe it was a day apart. And they were very different classes, but I just had so much fun. And I was like, and yeah, filming and everything. And like, I do that in New York, but like, I wasn't even like, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna dance. Like this camera's here, how you doing? Like whatever. But you know, I think as a student, it's yeah, you feel that energy, you feel the difference in energy. But I do love the variety that LA brings and the energy. It's just exciting for me because I just don't live there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So. And I think it's kind of funny because it's something that I always say to my students and stuff, that they don't really consider what it's like. Because to me, I think great teachers kind of consistently remain students. I'm always a student. I'm always in people's classes as much as I can be. And I do that not only to learn to dance, but to see what the experience is like from a student's perspective, to see what great things another teacher might be doing, or where another teacher might, you know, be able to I can bring some of that into my teaching. So I do it for a lot of reasons, but I say to people all the time, you know, most of the time people come to me and they're like, I'm in class and I don't get noticed. And I'm always like, don't rush that process of being noticed and being so well known, because there's a whole nother level of struggle that comes with that. You know, I always feel it, like you're saying, as soon as I walk into class, everybody's like,
yep. Yeah,
you know, they want to know what you're, and there's nothing bad about that. It's just different. I can't really train quietly anymore, or like, you know, feel like I get lost in my own world, because there is always that consciousness of, well, students that train with me are here, so they're using me as an example of how am I taking this class, and they're learning from me learning now. So I'm like, oh, you can't just, you know, go in and really train anonymously when you're in your own city. So I tell people that all the time. I'm like, there's trials at every level. It's great to be noticed. It's great that people want to watch you dance, but it also, you know, brings some pressure. So.
And I think the best teacher, like you said, the best teachers are the ones that are constantly training themselves. I think, and I think it's what prevents like us as teachers and our choreography in general from becoming stagnant or looking the same. Like, you know, you just, even little things like how someone else transfers their weight, or like, oh, I like the way, you know, little small details can really inform or broaden your horizons of how you approach creating movement yourself, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another thing to chat about with you is that you've begun, your social media is consistently growing, but you've begun building a social media following that's really impressive. And it's not as common in New York for people to really be focused on that social media side, or for choreographers in New York to have a following like that. So what do you feel that has, how has that become an advantage to you, or what do you enjoy about having that social media side to complement your, you know, your teaching?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely helps, and it was unexpected. I think like in like 2016, 2017, when I started to put a lot of content out there was just, I don't know if it was easier for stuff to go viral back then on Instagram, or was, because there were like a bunch of early videos that I put out, like to some, like it was like Shape of You, Ed Sheeran, and something else, like another thing I taught to, and they like got hundreds of thousands of views, and I got all these initial followers, and then, you know, it did help. I didn't really know what to do with it. You know, I was just putting out stuff because I liked it. And you know, you kind of roll with it. And then I find now like things are not as, you know, Instagram, the whole format and algorithm of Instagram has totally changed, you know? So it's a different ball game now. And I don't really focus or care about that, you know, about whether my video goes viral, whatever that means, you know? But I do think, I don't know, maybe because I think LA jumped on the camera filming class bandwagon a slightly earlier and more frequently than New York did.
It started here, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, you know, I think there was this kind of, a lot of teachers out there were able to grow large followings relatively quickly. And New York was not really, you know, as quick with that. So I think it's just a little less common for teachers to have larger followings out here. But it's nothing about it has ever hurt me, I guess. You know what I mean? So I don't have some crazy, I'm not like, you know, I don't got all these, you know, you see all comparison, you compare people and it's like, I don't feel like I have this huge following, but you're right. It is, you know, you still like, people are looking at what you do, and whether if you have
you know, anti-social media that are like, social media choreographers are bullshit essentially. And, you know, I wonder, do you ever feel that maybe you get counted out, or that people see your following and they're like, oh, he just has a full class because he has a following, and they don't even I know that's not true, by the way, that's garbage, but I hear that all the time for me. So I'm wondering, does that affect you? Do you feel that has been an issue for you, or have people been pretty understanding and just giving you a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like, people have to understand that like social media and all of that, like all that smoke and mirror, whatever it is, like that is just what you choose to present to the world. And numbers, all those things, like you can assume what you want about somebody based on what you see. You know what I mean? That's just human nature. You have the right to. You can, you know, I think I used to care more, like, oh, like they think I just kind of popped up overnight, and you know, maybe because my success was a little bit faster than theirs, but then there's people that pop up out of nowhere in a day. You know what I mean? So it's never like, everyone's journey, everyone's path is so different, and people only see the end product. People don't see the work that you put in. You know what I mean? People didn't see that I was like driving an hour and a half out of the city every other day to go teach these kids out in the suburbs, and then rushing back and taking like Luam's class at 9 p.m. like to make like $30 an hour at these like studios. You know what I mean? Like you have these things that you go through, and you really build yourself up. But people see, oh, he has a larger following, his classes are sold out, you know, he just got lucky with social media. And it's just not the case. You know what I mean? I think maybe for some people that is the case, and more power to them. I don't hate on anybody for what they've accomplished or what they've done with their time and with their following. But you're right. I do think some people that aren't maybe as present as on social media do kind of scoff at it or look down on it. And that's just the nature of it. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's ever counted me out in terms of like jobs or graphic jobs or booking a job as a dancer. Like, I don't think it's never, I haven't, at least to my knowledge, but I'm not behind the table, so I don't know, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's only helped me in terms of a professional sense, being able to book work and find choreographic work. It actually helps me consistently. But you know, I do know, as far as, you know, other people from the outside watching, that sometimes they'll make a quick, you know, snap decision that like, oh, just popular because she's on social media. And
it's like, just interesting though, because you're not just getting lucky. You're putting out your content and you're being who you are, and you're putting out things, and people just follow you because they want to be influenced by you. And so it's not them, you just being lucky. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that there is a formula to social media that does tend to, not always, but it does tend to equate to something that works for people. Because for me, being an effective teacher, you can be the best dancer in the world, but if you don't know how to relate to people, and if you don't know how to make people feel comfortable and to make them want to come into your room and be vulnerable, because classes, places of learning, they need to be a safe space where people can come in as they are and work towards being better. So when we don't let people have that freedom, and they feel like they're constantly being judged, or they're being looked down on because they're not as good as me or as the best dancers in the world, then that's not a classroom. That's a competitive audition type environment. You know, that's an end of the road environment, not a process environment. So for me, class should be welcoming. So to me, yeah, if you can build a social media following, that means something about you is magnetic. Something about you is something that people like to be in the presence of. they want to see your picture every day or your post and your caption every day. And so that should make you, that should make you somebody that already has that, lets people know, hey, if I like this person's energy and presence, then I might like it in person too. It doesn't mean they will. Some people online are just really good at painting a picture and faking it, sure. But I think that you can figure that out pretty quick. The first time you step in their class, you're going to be like,
yeah. I
then
always
you're not
say,
going to
like,
go back and you're good,
yeah,
right?
I would say just before you make any assumption about anybody, just go take their class or go watch them teach. You don't even got to take the class, like, or go just, don't just, assume something about somebody because of what you see.
Absolutely.
Like, I think you have in order to make it, in order to make an educated opinion, you know what I mean? And not be
Absolutely.
just
If anyone out there is a hater and wants to come and watch one of our classes to judge us, see if we're any good at teaching, we encourage you to come. Just write me like,
right?
hey,
Come one, come all.
yeah, hey, I hate you, and I just want to see if you're actually good at teaching. I'll let you right in the room. You can sit and watch, and you'll have a good time. I promise.
Right, right.
So that being said, you are breaking into the choreographic realm, which is interesting as well, because I do feel that at a time people felt very strongly that you had to be a choreographer first, and then eventually down the road you can teach. But I disagree with that concept, which I know makes a lot of people aggravated. But to me, I was born a teacher. I was a dance teacher when I was 11 years old, and I've been teaching dance ever since because I'm a teacher in my soul. I can teach people things that I can't even do. Like, I can teach.
Right.
That's I'm a
Right.
teacher.
Right.
So, and becoming a teacher and being a teacher made me a better choreographer. It made me understand music. It made me very clear in the way that I speak. It made me understand pictures and how people should move. And that made me a good choreographer, being a teacher at such a young age. So I deeply believe in and support that. And it's interesting that your path has been that. And so recently, I know you got to choreograph for Peloton, right? There, you became their choreographer. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was actually in Miami. I was supposed to dance at this award show called Premios with Talia, and my agent called me and said, "Look, like, I have this thing with Peloton." It was all this NDA stuff because they're very protective about their content. But it was just like a very major thing that I never would have saw it coming, to kind of work with a more fitness oriented or athletic brand. And it happened literally like right before quarantine. Like, we wrapped the series the first week of March, like the end of the first week of March. So literally right before, like, it couldn't have happened at a better time because it wouldn't be happening right now. So it was a really awesome, beautiful experience. But I agree with everything that you said about there's no one path. I don't feel like you need to be a choreographer to be a good teacher. I don't think you need to be a teacher to become a choreographer. I don't think every dancer is a good teacher. I don't think every teacher is a good dancer. I think there's a room and a lane for everybody, and you are the only one that can know what that looks like for you. So I totally agree. And screw someone who, if they agree differently, like, that's their opinion. You know what I mean? They're not, as long as they're not actively stopping your bag or your hustle, like, who cares? You know what I mean?
Like, because if you're doing what's meant for you, then no one should really be able to interfere.
Exactly.
But I just think it's interesting because I hear it so much that people are very opinionated about who should be a teacher and who should be doing what and who's qualified to do what. And I'm always saying to myself, you hear it a lot that people should be teaching only if they could teach you like a vibe and they can teach you artistry and they could teach you all this stuff. And then I always wonder to myself, okay, so when you get to set and they have to teach you choreo, if there isn't someone that's been teaching you how to retain choreography, what are you going to do with a vibe? You're not going to be able to do the job you were booked to do because you have to learn to do choreography and pick it up quickly. So if you want to teach a vibe, teach a vibe, but let somebody else teach an 8 count and let somebody else teach a jazz funk and this and that, because there is going to be a point where people need everything. So teach what you're good at and let people teach what they're good at, and trust that for people that's going to come together into exactly the formula they'll need for their own path. So I'm huge on that. And I'm a huge supporter of you. I love your class. I love everything that you put out, honestly. I really do. I think your energy is really special. And, I always find myself attracted to people who, like you've said a couple of times in this interview, aren't in it for like the fame or the notoriety or the numbers. All that stuff seems to be just a natural runoff from just doing something you're super passionate about and really caring about the people that come into your room. So I see that in you and I really appreciate that in you, which is one of the main reasons I wanted you to to be here with us. So thank you for being here today.
Of course, no, and all the same to you. Like, I remember the first time you came to New York in 2016. I took your class for the first time. Not the first time you came to New York. First time I took your class in New York, and I was just like, I love this girl. She's so fun. So, all the same to you, and thank you so much. This is great. It's so great that you're doing this. Like, this is awesome. What an awesome platform. So.
We love it. We're very happy with this show. But before I let you go, I do have one final question for you that I think will come in handy to anybody out there that consistently asks this question or wonders this question about, LA versus New York and all of that, and maybe moving to New York. Do you have any advice for somebody about, like, you're living in New York right now? What is that like? What should people do or prepare or look into if they want to come and live in that city?
Yeah, it's it's a beast. It's a very, very intense city. It's a very expensive city. Like, save up money before you anywhere. LA is expensive too, but like, it's
not as bad here.
Not as bad, right? Yeah, like you're looking at 1,800 or 2,000 a month for a studio in New York if you want to live alone. Like, it's a lot, minimum. So like you've gotta have your ducks in a row in that sense. You don't want to come here and just kind of squander, because a lot of people do that and then they kind of go back and have to kind of regroup. So have at least like that aspect of your life somewhat arranged before you move out here. And then it's interesting. You have to be ready for a lot of curveballs. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of things that can go right. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of different things all at the same time. And you see them, like you're like I said earlier, like you're next to the person that's on their way to their job at Vogue, and then the other girl that's like on her way to work at Morgan Stanley Investment Bank. Like there's so much stuff happening all the time, and so you just have to be ready for it, and you have to be ready to not get overwhelmed by it, and be ready to hustle, because it's not a very forgiving city, But
so get your ducks in a row if you're going to move to New York. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you save up a little money. But thank you guys so much for watching us today here on The Dance Influence. I hope that this helped you. If you enjoyed this show, make sure that you like and subscribe, and that you give us a comment down below. We love to chat with you and hear about your opinions. So thank you guys again. Miles, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, my Instagram is at Miles Keeney, MilesKeeney. That's all social media, YouTube, TikTok, all these things that we do these days. And I teach, right, like in normal life, non-quarantine life, I teach weekly at Broadway Dance Center and at Perry Dance in New York. And I do come out to LA relatively frequently. So hopefully when things go back to normal, I'll be back out there.
And in the meantime, you guys can catch his classes online every Monday, right?
Yeah, every Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, and you can register. Even if you can't make the live stream, you can still register and watch it kind of anytime within that 24-hour period. And I post about it on social media every week.
Amazing. And Danielle, tell them where they can find you.
Danielle Rose 143 on Instagram. We love you all.
And so you guys know you can find me on Instagram at DanaAlexa_, and same thing on TikTok. Those are my two main platforms right now, but I'm on all social media. You'll find me, Dana Alexa. I love TikTok, y'all. Don't even try to onboard me. I love TikTok. But thank you guys again. It's the best. It's the best. It's so fun. I don't know. I'm having a good time on TikTok, y'all. So most of my stuff actually is going up there. But thank you guys again for watching. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode of The Dance Influence. If you guys also want to check out my Patreon, is patreon.com/DanaAlexa. It's where I am training you guys. I developed a full training program for you guys, mind, body, spirit, helping y'all 360 degrees. So I hope to see you there in my Patreon community. I love you guys, and we'll be back real soon.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.